Welcome everyone to our 5th interview with wellness advocates in the community. Last week I was solo while Kelsi was playing in Florida, enjoying the beach and the sand and having a little working vacation. I was chatting it up with Jasmine and we talked all about how kind of turning that difficult hand of cards that you're dealt into a life worth living. So we are happy that Kelsi's back today to help us interview Kiera Walsh, and she's going to talk about the importance of keeping a positive mindset so you can be successful and have a happy life.
Yeah, so welcome, Kiera. If you want, you can go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners / viewers, and just if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your wellness background and your current role, whether it's professional, in your personal life, kind of whatever you want to share along with that.
Yeah, so thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to be on here today. I'm Kiera. I am a certified mindfulness coach, and saying that still feels a little bit crazy. We'll get into like limiting beliefs and like all the things that go around that. But yeah, so I'm a certified mindfulness coach. I'm 9 months pregnant, getting ready to have my first baby. It's kind of a whirlwind right now. So yeah, I guess a little bit about me is I'm married. We're about to hit our 1 year. It flew by. I have 2 dogs and we live in New Jersey. But yeah, I guess we'll get into a little bit more about how I got started with mindset and all of that. But I've always been kind of like the optimistic cheerleader type. So I kind of just like fell into this role, and it literally just fits my life perfectly and kind of goes along with who I am. So it's been a very exciting journey so far.
I love that. Can you tell us just a little bit about your like background as a coach? Like I heard you saying that is still unique.
Yeah. So I went to school. I went to Kent State. I'm originally from Ohio. And I graduated with my bachelor's degree in human development and family studies. So I've always kind of wanted to work with people, kind of be in the human services field, kind of dabbled in education for a bit. So I have some background in like early childhood education. But yeah, always just kind of that helper role kind of situation. Graduated college, obviously fell into like a 9 to 5, and I was like, yes, like salary, this is it. Like, this is like what life is for. I'm supposed to have this salary job, right? It feels great. Turns out that was not really for me. So yeah, long story short, I just was not happy. I was stuck in like the grind of like the 9 to 5, which really was like the 8 to 7 kind of thing. Just working my life away and not really feeling like fulfillment anywhere. So I noticed, as mental health professionals, you guys, I'm sure, see a lot, like my anxiety increased, my depression was like through the roof. And I just really wasn't feeling like myself. And I knew that I had to change something. Like I said, I've always just been this optimistic, positive person, regardless of my background. So I guess backtracking a little bit, I grew up in a trailer park. And so we didn't have a ton of like extra stuff growing up. My mom, as a single mom, did a really good job of not really making that noticeable. So poverty mindset was like always a thing for me. So the thought of leaving a 9 to 5 salary job was very scary. But looking back now, it was the easiest choice I've ever made because it's gotten me to where I am now. So again, kind of forwarding back to where I was not happy in my current job. I was working as an executive director of a preschool. It was a great job, but I just was not enjoying it. So I hired business coaches actually, and just started talking to them about, what I can do, what I can create. And then I just really fell into this role of like shaking the funk. So it was completely up to me to kind of check myself out of that. Along with the help of having friends who are in this role, like Amanda and other friends, it's been great to surround myself with positive people because they really do kind of check you out of that when you need it. But yeah, started working with coaches and just figuring out the funk that I was in and how to get out of that. And it just kind of evolved into where I am now. And so now I am running a mindset coaching business. I have business coaching. And it really all revolves around mindset and just kind of creating the life that you want and not letting life happen to you. So really making life happen for you and not to you. I hope that made sense.
It did. So in that process, like, I know a lot more of the story, but obviously our listeners don't. What do you think, like, you shared kind of your background and history and where you came from. What was like the biggest thing you had to overcome in the journey of becoming a mindset coach?
I think it really comes down to kind of like I said, like the limiting beliefs / excuses. Like, who am I to, get certified in mindfulness, and who am I to call myself a mindset coach, and who am I to, think I can create a full-time income off of coaching. And, that's where that poverty mindset came back. And it really was, again, just like checking myself out of those excuses and saying, I am worthy of this. I am capable of this. And just once you have your mindset in check, I really feel like everything just kind of falls into place. So in my opinion, if your mindset is not where it needs to be, then your health and wellness is not where it needs to be. Your mental health is not where it needs to be. So mindset really does tie in a lot with mental health, and just kind of really, again, acknowledging your areas that you might consider like a weakness or whatnot, but then again, acknowledging those as potential strengths and just kind of flipping the script on it a little bit. So I would say the biggest struggle or hurdle would just be just checking myself out of those limiting beliefs. Even as a successful coach now, where I've completely replaced my income, I still have to check myself out of it. And even as a mindset coach, there are days when I don't feel like working as my higher self and doing all the things, but just reminding myself on a day-to-day basis. And that's where like the consistency and wellness kicks into.
I love it. Okay. And then and actually I want to backtrack a little bit, because you see mindset like everywhere, right? It's like mindset. And here we are talking about mindset. But if you could define that, like, what is mindset? Why is it important? And give me like what an example of managing your mindset is.
Yeah, so I think it might look different to everybody. I think mindset to me is just the way I'm feeling inside and out. Like I said, I think mindset completely encompasses your health and wellness, how you feel about yourself and the self-talk that you use on a daily basis. But then it can also tie into healthy boundaries and healthy relationships and how you're viewing those, and all the way through communication. So in my mindset coaching course, we go through everything from, like I said, limiting beliefs to excuses to imposter syndrome, and just like who am I to be actually doing this? And then we go all the way through the mindful self, mindful eating, even not necessarily speaking about dieting, but just being aware of what you're consuming and how that's impacting you. And like I said, all the way through healthy boundaries, meditation. So mindset really encompasses so much, and it's different for every person. I think and that's what's so cool about it. And that's why I love doing the one-on-one coaching. Is mindset to me might not look the same to, you or Kelsi. So it really is just figuring out who you are as a person, what works for you, and then just figuring out different things that you can incorporate throughout the day that really help you feel like your best self. So as far as like a healthy mindset, I would say, be focused more on like a growth mindset, which is where you're, looking at the journey to where you're going, not necessarily just the goal. And right, that can encompass any part of your life. Rather than the fixed mindset where it's more like the woe is me, I'm kind of stuck in my situation, I'm handed this deck of cards, I can't change anything about that. Whereas a growth mindset, you're really like, okay, these are my cards, what can I do with them?
Yeah, I just wrote a blog post, and not on mindset and stuff, but just like a little, side note I put in there, like it is such a big concept, like you explained, because I put in there, like, it was all about things that being a therapist, has taught me. And I just did it yesterday. I wrote it and put it out and everything. But I touched on, my number one thing was I had to learn, it taught me to have this, like, I think I said like an unshakable belief in myself, because I knew I was already motivated, driven, goal-oriented, and all of those things. But if your mindset isn't where it needs to be, all of those are kind of useless. You can have those things,
Absolutely.
but not believe in yourself and be able to use them is different.
Absolutely. And I feel like with a lot of my clients, they first are stuck in this quote unquote funk, and they feel stuck, and kind of like how I was explaining when I was in my previous position, I felt stuck. I felt like, you're supposed to graduate college and then get the salary job, and then like everything's supposed to be great. Right. But like, that's not always how life works out. And again, like you said, like it just is about really just stepping into your strengths and stepping into what you're good at, and not falling into that victim mode, which is more of like that, the fixed mindset. So really just taking what you're dealt, and then seeing where you can blossom from there.
So we've kind of alluded to how this has helped you personally, right? You like replaced your income doing something you love. Is there anything else that this kind of journey to a positive mindset has personally done for you that's kind of life shaking and life altering? And then also, like, what kind of examples have you seen it do for the people you work with, your clients?
Yeah, so like I said, when I first got started, it was really just me hiring coaches to like figure out how the heck to get out of the funk that I was in. And then it evolved into like, oh my gosh, I can create an income out of this. And it like was not the plan from the get-go. So I think personally, obviously my income and being able to stay home with my daughter now full time is going to be amazing. The time freedom and the financial freedom that comes from that is, I cannot put a price tag on that. But then also just from a personal standpoint, like I was graduating from college with a helper degree. So I've always wanted to help people, and just being able to coach people one-on-one and see their transformation from that place that I was, like seeing them where I was and then helping them get to where they want to be and helping them acknowledge their strengths and like seeing that growth along the way is amazing. I, again, cannot put into words how great that is to see. I've had clients literally tell me that I've changed their lives. And again, as a helper, it's like, that's an amazing thing, but it's hard to take credit for something like that because it's them doing the work. I'm sure as mental health professionals, you guys feel that quite a bit. But yeah, I think just seeing people grow along the way. I've helped a client launch a business where she's had, $20,000, $30,000 launch, and that's changing her life. She's now on her way to, creating more programs to help other, she's working specifically with women as well. But just, she's now on the way to quit her job. And then I've just seen so many clients just make these transformational switches that just, it's like the light bulb. When it goes off, it's like life changing. So, I think
all the time, Amanda.
Yeah. So I think just seeing them make the growth that they have is just, you can't really put a price tag on that.
It's beautiful to watch because you want it so bad for someone and you can see, right? Like I do this all the time with Kelsi, even in text message, I just shake her sometimes, right? Yeah. I'd be like, remember that unshakable belief in yourself. Like you are enough, right? Because we can see it. Like you said in our
Kelsi, but
yeah. We see it in others and we want it so bad for you and we know it's possible because we've gotten there, but it's when they are like, I can do it. We're like, yes, you can.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
When we approach our clients, we can tell them these things about themselves all day long, but it's not going to be effective until they see it. And then we see that light bulb, like you said, and it's amazing, so.
I absolutely agree.
Yes. And us being, mental health therapists and doing what we do on, the type of work we do, we always want to, ensure that our clients' feelings are validated and those types of, giving them those kind of feelings and that kind of unconditional feedback. But how would you explain how to balance having a positive mindset with having like toxic positivity or maybe just full on avoiding emotions or feelings?
Yeah. So I always explain, just because I do have a background in, human services and I've, previously held a position as a case manager, I understand it's very important for me to express to my clients that I am not their counselor. That is number one laid out in their contract. But then number two, really my job as a coach is I don't really give advice. So what I do is I ask a lot of questions and I let the clients get to that self-exploration and that self-discovery on their own. So I kind of lead the way, even if I know the answer and I know kind of where they're going to go with it. I want them to do that on their own because number one, it's going to lead to more growth and, more self-confidence. But as far as balancing mental health and positive mindset, it's not my job. And I explain this explicitly. It's not my job to be their counselor. So I really want them to get to that on their own. And then as far as a positive mindset, what we really do is we work through different activities. So there's a lot of like brain dumps that go into my courses. It's a lot of them just kind of getting everything out. And then they work through a workbook and have online content where they really are working through that on their own. And then their coaching calls with me are really just kind of talking it out. So figuring out any like, bumps in the road that they just couldn't get over. But again, when we're discussing things like that or going over, maybe a limiting belief from childhood, obviously that is more of like a mental health topic per se. But, a lot of mindset issues will say, or limiting beliefs, excuses, imposter syndrome, it does tie back to things that occurred in childhood. So what I really do is in that stance, I just sit back and listen and I ask questions. And I want them to come up with, wherever that road leads them, I want them to get to that. It's not coming from me whatsoever. So again, it's just a lot of asking questions and letting them get to that self-exploration stage on their own.
Do you find yourself like giving maybe a referral to a therapist or recommending therapy to somebody who's in your program as well?
I have not had that situation come up yet, but obviously if that need, did arise, I absolutely would do so. Just like I said, understanding my background and the importance of mental health, I absolutely would if necessary. But I haven't had that situation come up anytime yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and we always talk about like not practicing outside of your scope, even as therapists. Like we have lots of knowledge, but if I'm not trained in that, I shouldn't be doing it. And you're very aware of that, so I love it. Okay, Kiera, last question, unless we pivot and want to just talk for 20 more minutes. What advice would you give to someone, like, I don't know, you're in an elevator with someone, it's non-COVID time, walking in an elevator with someone and they're like, hi, nice to meet you, what do you do? And you're like, I'm a mindset coach, and they're like, oh my God, nice to meet you, Kiera, I'm so unhappy in life. Like, what would you say to them?
Well, I think that is quite a heavy question. I think there's a lot that needs to be uncovered there. But I think I would just say, like, I see you and I was there too. And I think everybody, regardless of how happy they are with their life, has been there at some point in time. Like, nobody is perfect. And I think that's why a lot of my clients resonate with me, is I do explain, like, nobody is perfect. Everybody has time in their life when they're unhappy or stuck or like feel like they're in a funk. So what I would tell that person, number one, you are worthy of happiness in life, first and foremost. A lot of people I see, when I'm doing stories on social media, for example, a lot of them click, like when I do a poll, like that they just don't feel worthy of success, or they don't feel worthy of money or happiness or whatever. So just really expressing to that person that you are worthy, and that might take a little bit more, that might require counseling to unravel that, but worthy, capable, knowledgeable. Everybody has strengths that they can step into. And just knowing that you are capable of changing your situation, regardless of what's going on. Again, I grew up in a trailer park, and here I am creating my own, business, so to speak, not to toot my own horn, but looking back, I never would have thought that would have been possible. So just letting people know that it's okay to ask for help and invest in themselves, and knowing that, there are people out there that are willing to help, whether it be mental health, counseling, therapy, coaching, just willing to take that step and be vulnerable. That's the number one thing I tell my clients, is you have to step into that state of being vulnerable. And it is scary and it is nerve-wracking, but once you break down those barriers and uncover all the stuff that's holding you back, that's really what my coaching does, is we break down barriers, we talk about the things that scare you, and then we flip it. Okay, well, how can we flip this into a positive? So yeah, I would just express that that they're worthy, and that they're willing to be vulnerable and invest in themselves, that their entire life can change.
That resonates with me. I was doing anti-racist mental health practice training on Friday for like 8 hours. It was amazing. Not nearly enough. I got to keep doing more work, but I kept hearing them say something, and what it came to me as a conclusion was, do it scared, which I'm pretty sure I've heard you say multiple times. And I was like, that's perfect timing for Kiera's podcast.
Yeah.
So what can you say about doing it scared?
You just have to, right? Like it's almost, I used to joke all the time, like Nike says, like, just do it. You have to just step into it. Like, you are not getting today back. Yesterday's gone, and that's it. And it's this, the whole thing with 2020, I see so many people wishing away the year. I'm like, do you think when the ball drops that all these problems are just suddenly going to go away? Do you think all of your issues are just suddenly going to disappear? That's just not how life works. Like, yesterday's gone. You have today. You don't know if you have tomorrow. So literally do it scared. Whatever you want to do, you have to just do it. Like, you have to just make that investment, make that phone call, do what you need to do. Like, all of us know what we need to improve on in our lives, right? Like, again, even as, therapists and as a mindset coach, we all have things that we still want to improve about ourselves. You just have to do it. You just have to take that first step and, be vulnerable with yourself and with others, and allow yourself to grow. And once you're vulnerable, and once you're doing things that scare the what out of you, it really will be life-changing, because that's the stuff that's going to change you, right? Like, the easy stuff is not going to make any difference.
100%. And Amanda and I both, but especially Amanda, she always will. It goes back to like that shaking of us, like, hey, and she'll say, Kelsi, done is better than perfect.
Yes.
And I'm like,
it's also a Kiera line.
I say that to my clients all the time.
And that, you know, just put it out there, and like us putting these things out there into the world, you know, it can really come full circle for people.
Yeah. How do you think this podcast and vlog got here, guys?
Yeah. We were like, huh,
Google.
okay, we'll just do it.
And that's
see what
exactly
happens,
how my
and here we
mindset
are.
coaching started. So like I said, like you just have to, like, once you have that itch, you just have to go with it. So make the phone call, you know, invest in yourself, do whatever you need to do. But yeah, you're never going to get to a point where you're not scared. You're never going to get to a point where you're not, you know, when you're 100% confident in it. Because if you get to a point where you're 100% comfortable with it and 100% confident, then you don't need to make that change anymore. It's time for something different. So yeah, you don't get tomorrow back, and today is the only day you have. So
absolutely. But so Kiera, thank you so much for, you know, being here with us and talking about this topic. Do you have any last minute thoughts, words of wisdom, advice for listeners before we?
I think, yeah. So I think it's just, again, it's important to realize that you're worthy of it. And a lot of times we're stuck so far into a funk that we don't see it, or we don't realize it, or just don't have the energy to like even think about it. You know, a lot of people are just struggling to just get through the day. But when you truly just sit back and think, like, do I want to spend the rest of my life feeling this funky? Probably no. So you just have to just know that you're, again, worthy of making a change, and it is possible. So yeah, I would just say, believe in yourself, and, you know, follow you guys and follow me, and we will beat some positivity into you a little bit. But yeah, just take a chance on yourself, I guess.
Awesome. And then where can our listeners and viewers find you, whether it's social media, a website, anything?
Yeah. So mindandmanifest.com is my website. I can also be reached on Instagram. My handle is @_Kiera Walsh. So KIERAWALSH.
Alrighty. And for everybody, we will link those, you know, below. So, you know, it'd be easily accessible. Excuse me. Easily accessible for everybody.
Yes, we will. And Kiera, I just wanted to thank you again, because I know 9 months pregnant, you are just glowing. Like nobody would even know.
Good for you.
It's the ring light, guys. It's the ring light.
And then as always, everyone, I want to make sure we remind you, please like, comment, subscribe. We don't want you to miss any of these amazing interviews as they keep rolling. Next week, we are chatting with a colleague of mine and a former coworker. Her name is Megan, and we're going to be talking about why therapists need therapy too. So we're just on this roll of everybody needs support, and that's okay.
Yes.
So
yes. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on. I think the work that you guys do is amazing. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Take care, guys. Bye.